is the most important part when you are just talking about the graphs, position time graph. The velocity time graphs means that the velocity is plotted on y-axis and the time is plotted on x-axis. That is the meaning of the velocity time graph. Means it is the velocity against the time. And the time should be given in seconds and the velocity should be given in meter per second. That is the most important thing that you have to understand. And when you look at the graphs, you have something that you have to remember as a student, and you have to understand. I have drawn, consider these three graphs that I have drawn here. When you look at these three graphs, there are three of them. They have got different shapes, and every shape have got different meaning. Has got it is a unique meaning. And when you look at the first graph, there is something that you have to generalize. The slope of this graph, or the slope of the line, of the inclined lines. Because if now you are looking for the slope, a line should be inclined. So a slope for the inclined line gives what we call it acceleration. How does it happen? Remember, you have this one and you have this one. This is the line that is passing through the origin. And now, if now we want to consider what we call it a slope, we draw this one. This to represent the slope. This is the velocity and this is the time. So, to find out the velocity of this graph, we'll be looking for the change in y, which is not y. Y is represented by velocity because we have said the velocity is plotted on the y-axis. That is, will be change in velocity. And then here will be change in time. To find the slope is equal now to change in y over change in x. But what represents y and what represents x? What represents y is the change in velocity, and what represents change in x is the change in time. When you look at this one, change in velocity per time, according to the definition, we said acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. If that is the case now, a slope here is equal to the rate of change in velocity. This means that slope represents what we call it acceleration. So an acceleration will be represented by the slope of the line and should be inclined line, because we have inclined line and also we have what we call it a horizontal line. So a slope of the velocity time graph represents acceleration. That is very important. And we'll be having a positive acceleration and we'll be having a negative acceleration. That is called deceleration. So on this part, we are having positive acceleration. But on this part, we are having negative acceleration. That is deceleration. So we have here deceleration, which is the negative acceleration. And this is what we call it acceleration. But on the horizontal line represents the constant velocity. Now, a constant velocity is represented by the horizontal line. It means that there is no acceleration because there is no change in velocity. If there is no change in velocity, no matter the speed is, whether you are moving with 100 meters per second squared or 100 kilometers per hour, but there is no change in velocity, there is no acceleration. So this horizontal line represents what we call it a constant velocity. This is the constant velocity or uniform velocity, or it is called uniform velocity. Means there is no acceleration. Why there is no acceleration? This is the point that you have to remember. There is no acceleration at this point. Why is it so? Because there is no change in velocity. Acceleration, it will happen only if there is a change in velocity. If there is no change in velocity, there is no acceleration. That's a point that you have to remember, because if now you are considering about acceleration, you have to consider about change in velocity. In absence of the change in velocity, there is no acceleration.